Hello everyone, my name is Trevor, I go by the Mr. Trails, and welcome to the channel. In today's video, we'll be going over the brand new Terra Escalation in Dauntless. I'll be going over the amps and the talent tree suggestions I would have, as well as just some of the general things about it that have been introduced. Let's start off with a few general things about it. Terra Escalation is the 4th escalation, and as with each new escalation, we've gained 50 possible power as Slayers, the total now being plus 200. There aren't a ton of new amps this time around, but if you had to consider a theme for this escalation, it would be a sort of the shield and healing areas, and this escalation has a bit of a secondary focus, and that would come in the form of crits. As with all of the escalations before it, we've gained a new cell, as well as the ability to place any cell onto a Terra weapon with the prismatic cells on the weapons from the boss. The boss, Agarus, more commonly referred to by the community as Asparagus, is a sort of tree mushroom hybrid. It brings to mind something from another game, The Last of Us, where a type of fungus called cordyceps infected humans, turning them into zombies, only this is a tree that seems to have become sentient from such an aether-charged fungal infection. I'm not really all about the lore over here, so if you got a better explanation for that, put it in the comments, as I'm sure there's just a lore entry in the game that I haven't read that kind of explains what's going on. Alright, so let's talk about some of the amps and passives that are available in this escalation. The passives from the talent tree are Zai's Maneuvers, Lucky Strikes, Strega's Tonic, Moira's Reinforcement, and Cat's Claws, the same passives available in the same areas of the tree as Shock Escalation. The basic returning amps are as follows: Strega's Bulwark, Frenzy and Revival, Defensive Revive, Executioner, Full Throttle, Go Time, Healing Stream, Locus of Power, Mender's Gift, Overclock, Pack of Swiftness, Squad Goals, Thrill of the Hunt, and Torrent Shield. Two returning amps I can't quite explain why are here are Hot Shot and Shadow Dodge. These seem very out of place, as before these were Umbral and Blaze Escalation exclusives. The new amps are as follows: Elemental Form, Terra and Shock, Pact of Hunger, Reckoning, Shieldsphere, and Shrapnel. Elemental Form Terra provides damage reduction after a dodge through, while Elemental Form Shock provides extra crit chance after 15 hits, each lasting for 10 to 18 seconds unless cancelled by the other. Pact of Hunger I've spoken about previously, but you're locked out of using any consumables for a round, then gain 5 to 10% lifesteal. Shieldsphere activates when standing a distance away from the behemoth, and when destroyed grants shield to nearby players. Shrapnel is an amp that will deal an area of effect damage each time your shields are refreshed from most sources, of up to 3 times the shield you had before refresh. As I said in another video, this amp would be better if it worked with Skarn weapons, which it does not. Aurelia, one of the developers, has said that it was supposed to be working with Skarn weapons, but it seems as though they were not able to get to it for the Terra Escalation launch. And what I would like to say is the best new amp from this escalation is Reckoning. For the next behemoth, you'll deal up to 70% more damage while taking 50% more damage. This amp is pretty cool, and it's not exactly set to be a Terra Escalation exclusives, and I want to see this leech over into other escalations. You can add additional amps to the selection pool through the final level of the Escalation talent tree. From Blaze Escalation, Lady Luck's Barrage, Torgadoro's Strength, and Resilience. From Umbral Escalation, Elemental Form, Radiant, and Umbral, as well as Void Mantle. And from Shock Escalation, we have Duelist Precision, Spiteful Evasion, and the big boy, Virulent Impact. While we're here looking at the Escalation talent tree, let's go over what I would suggest upgrading for newer players, as well as the more experienced players. If you want my amp suggestions for Blaze, Umbral, and Shock Escalation, I've already made a video covering those talent trees. For inexperienced players, we'll begin with Pact of Hunger and Torrent Shield upgrades. Next, we'll invest into passive skills. I would suggest 3 into Lucky Strikes and 1 into Movement Speed. Then we can chuck 3 points into Strega's Tonic and 1 into Mender's Gift. We'll pick up passive damage reduction and upgrade our elemental forms. Then we'll upgrade Cat's Claws and Thrill of the Hunt. We should have 2 points remaining, which I would suggest investing in Critical Thunder amp unlocks with one of them, and with your last point, invest it in what you think suits your gameplay the best. For experienced players, we'll throw 3 points into Movement Speed and 1 point into Torrent Shield or Pact of Hunger. Then we'll fully upgrade Pact of Swiftness and Lucky Strikes. Pack Tactics we'll put to max, and either 1 or 3 points going into Strega's Tonic. Fully upgrade Reckoning, upgrade Elemental Forms, Thrill of the Hunt, and Cat's Claws. And unlock the Critical Thunder amps. If you only invested 1 point into Strega's Tonic, which will actually not refill your flasks anymore, you can put 2 more points into amp unlocks or damage reduction. If I had to choose a perfect amp list, Agarus, I would take Thrill of the Hunt first round, Virulent Impact on round 2, Elemental Form Shock on round 3, and Reckoning on round 4. And now let's move on to talking about Agarus. A lot of us are feeling this, but Agarus just doesn't quite put up much of a fight. Don't get me wrong, he does seem like he has a fine amount of HP, but due to all of the power creep we've had in Dauntless, he just doesn't stand a chance against us. I had my entire hunting party running Sharpened and Bladestorm on launch day just to make sure we would be able to get all of the part breaks. And it is pretty important that you break all of its parts because there's a bug with the fight that can make it so you don't get some of the part breaks from it, and there's a particular part that you need quite a bit of, more than you actually really should need. The limb arm. Oh, how you spite me. To craft the Striker's sword, axe, and warpike, you need 15 of the limb arm drops. Why do I say limb arm specifically? Well, it's because there's two arms, a limb arm and a bludgeon arm, each having its own specific part breaks. Why they wouldn't choose to do 15 of the spore caps, the part break from mounting it, which there are 3 of per hunt, is beyond me. Even with running Bladestorm and Sharpened, we were killing it so fast that we had to stop dealing damage to let it go into its Aether Charged mode. And we let it go into Aether Charged mode because we were curious about how to interrupt the thing. But as far as I've heard of and am aware, Agarus isn't supposed to have an interrupt. The mastery page for it is just bugged to show that objective. As for Staggers, Captain Maelstrom and I pretty much came to the same conclusion on how to mastery grind those, which he made a video about, link in the description. Let's move away from Agarus and talk about the Spore-struck Charog and Spore-struck Embermane. These are the 2 elemental variants we've received with the Terra Escalation, and overall are getting some of the most positive receptions of any of the variants before. These 2 are interesting as well, as they are the first behemoths that are not Escalation bosses that have the mounting mechanic on their fights. As well as their part breaks drop the new Pure Wart mushrooms, which can be obtained by part breaks from these 2 and Agarus, as well as being scattered throughout the map on general hunts. There's a new introductory quest line to help introduce these new behemoths, as well as the new poison mechanic. From what I'm able to gather, you get poisoned after standing in one of the poison pools for too long, which it will show you how long you've been standing in at the bottom of the screen. Once you've been poisoned, there's no other way to remove the status aside from a new tonic available from Granny Strega. Overall, what are my thoughts about the Terra Escalation though? I personally love to play this escalation, perhaps part of that being mixing Virulent Impact with the new Crit tonic, which enables some insanely fast kill times, which I'm somewhat okay with in general hunts. It also feels like the amps somewhat more consistently don't screw me over now that I have the 4th amp unlock, as getting these shock escalation amps are a common rarity when you unlock them. As for Agarus itself, I'd give it a solid B. It's a new, unique kind of fight, with the behemoth being mostly stationary, which is a refreshing change from a lot of the running across the entire map behemoths. However, because of this, it's kind of hard to tell when you're about to get hit by some of these attacks, as he just instantly pulls one of his arms out of the ground. Along with those part break issues and feeling like the fight is just a little bit too easy, that's why this fight isn't quite an S++. Well, that'll be it from me today, guys. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like on the video, and if you enjoy Dauntless content, consider subscribing to the channel where I post Dauntless content every week. I've been Trevor, I go by the Mr. Trails, and I will catch you guys next time.